actually creates that beautiful statue. So it is the master that is actually creating that beautiful personality that we see in a consecrated man to God. Now, so this is the first thing that we need to consider. You are special because God chose you. And of course, we all admire this. But what makes you special after this election of God? This is pretty much a Samuel. Samuel was a normal boy, like everybody else. He was just sleeping beside the ark of God. That's all he was doing. God called him, and that made him a prophet, not the other way around. So, what is it that God produced in you? Well, some really wonderful things. I mean, see, since the very beginning of humanity, man, woman, we all have dedicated all our lives to survive. We wanted to obtain things so that we could have food, shelter, clothing. That was the needed things. And this is the history of humanity, all along our lives, all along our history. But it seems that you go the other way around. You say, oh no, no, no. Those things are not for me. I will only confide in God. Well, that's what you do by your vow of poverty. At the end you say, I really hope and confide in the providence of God. And human and earthly things are not important because God will provide. He is the owner of things. I mean, just think for a minute. If you will ask the Canadian government to change the course of the St. Lawrence River, they would say, you're crazy. You cannot do that. That's impossible. It will be too costly. That will require so many more taxes, and we cannot do that. Right? So, but God actually made the course of the St. Lawrence exactly where He wanted, because He is so powerful. So, from now on, Brother Matthew, what you're going to do with your life is to tell the world that you can confide in the providence of God, and that you are going to be much better off. Of course, this will give you the chance to really enjoy things that are little, and you will be always thanking God for those little things. We see human beings, and this is something that you will experience when you go to Rome to study, in due time, of course, that when we go out on vacation, we see, those families that have those beautiful yachts, and they're there, and you see them, and they spend the whole afternoon pretty bored on top of the yacht, on the deck of the yacht. And we, with a little, I don't know, plastic ball or something, we just have the best of time, because we enjoy the little things, God-given things. So this is something that you will show the world. You will be a signal for them that it is essential to confide in God's providence. At the same time, we need to work, that's true, to make those things available for us, the needed things. But you will be confiding in God. And this is so countercurrent that people will not understand you. You're also going to do something even more incredible. People are always looking for somebody to love. And they want some security and somebody that would be the object of our affections, and that we will receive also affection from them. But it seems that you have abandoned. You are so countercurrent. So strange. Because, it seems that you are only dedicated to God, as if human beings would not matter. But, see, the thing is that they don't catch the essence of what we're actually doing. Because what we're actually doing is loving more God and your neighbor, more than everybody else, with an undivided, eternal love. Up to the point that you're going to give your life completely for them, as Christ did, to the utmost sacrifice. So this is real love, giving without expecting to receive. Dedicating your affection, your love, all your energies to God and to all mankind, serving them as minister, as pastor of souls. And that way you will bring many of them to eternity. Remember that what convinces people is not many beautiful and good ideas. What convinces people is the mercy of God that touches their heart and shows them that God really cares about us human beings. And He uses instruments, the consecrated, the priests, that will go there and touch the hearts of people to bring them back to what is really essential, to the eternal things. So your love will be an undivided and total, absolute love for all mankind. Once again, you are countercurrent. And the third thing, of course, is super countercurrent. I mean, just think about this. You, I mean, your mom and dad were great parents, but I'm sure that you were a little rebel at times. When you were growing up and you were an adolescent, you wanted to get away from mom and dad's influence, right? Because that's the way we are. We want to be free and we want to do our own things and dedicate our lives to our own things without asking anybody. But now it seems that you are bonding yourself to a superior. How awful that could be. Well, it's because you realize that in that superior, that's the presence of God. So you really have faith in the action of God through human instruments. And you put your freedom there. It's the highest act of freedom that you are doing. But of course, out there, the world will not understand what you're doing. So you will be a sign of the eternal things, but you will also be a sign of contradiction. So those are your vows. That's really incredible what you're doing. So what God is doing with you when He chooses you is precisely that. He's making you counter-current. But now, is that just because we despise human nature and the way things are? No, it is because we want to be like Jesus Christ. If you read the gospel that was just proclaimed, well, that's what it says. We are behind Christ. We are going to be wherever He goes. So it could be that you go to faraway countries, the Philippines, for example, or any other place in the world. It could be that you just go here nearby. But at the end, you will be with Christ all the time. You will be bringing Christ to people. And you will be the presence of Christ among them. Not because you're Brother Matthew Floro, so well-formed and so well-educated. We don't come to the chapel because we want to see the tabernacle. We come to the chapel because we want to see Christ inside that tabernacle. I bet that if you don't look and I ask you, what's the door of the tabernacle look like? You wouldn't know. You wouldn't remember. Because you have been very concentrated on Christ, not on that external aspect of the tabernacle itself. So that's what people will be looking at when they see you. They will see Christ in you. And you need to identify yourself more and more. That's what consecration means. You receive the call and you say to God, in an act of complete and total freedom and abandonment, you tell Him, here I am, Lord. I come to do your will. And God accepts that offer and He consecrates you. He makes you an election, something of His property. So that's what you will be. And this is, if you think about it, this is just incredible. I mentioned in the professions in Cheshire, in the homily, that I had a beautiful experience the first time I went to Holy Land. No, I don't mean Manila, I mean Holy Land, real Holy Land. It was late in the afternoon when I arrived to Tel Aviv, and we went directly to Nazareth. So it was late in the afternoon, and I didn't know if I could celebrate Mass in the altar of the Annunciation. But at the time, there was this guardian there, the Franciscan, that took care of the place, that was a good friend of Father Juan Solana. And Father Juan Solana convinced him to allow us to celebrate Mass there after everybody had left. It was 8 o'clock at night. So the whole basilica was empty. There was nobody else except Father Juan and myself. So I went there to the little altar. I mean, it's amazing if you think about it. This the incarnation of Jesus Christ our Lord in such a destitute place. Nothing, just a little cave. A little carving inside a rock. That was it. That was the house of Mary. And well, I went to the altar and I saw this sign where tradition says that was exactly the place where Mary was standing or sitting or when she received the Annunciation. And it says, here the Word was made flesh. We repeat that phrase all the time. We say, the Word was made flesh. But we don't say, here. But in that place, we can say, here. God was made flesh in this precise place. So, of course, I knelt. Because I said, I mean, this is where it all began. This is where history changed. This is where everything good began. I just thought, this is the most beautiful place in the world. The place of mercy, the place of salvation, the place of joy, the place of hope, the place of eternity. That's where eternity It's actually playing the game that would have saved us. So I knelt, and then we celebrated Mass, and it was a very beautiful Mass. Very intimate, because we were only two of us, Father Juan and myself. So when I see you and every consecrated, I can repeat those words. I can say, here the Word was made flesh. Because here Christ really lives in each one of you, in each one of the consecrated. Because they are that election place of God. So where God can actually live and be present in a very particular way. Of course, we are all consecrated by baptism, and then we priests are consecrated by the sacrament of order, but the consecration of a religious is all our will, all our heart, all our sentiments. We tell Christ, this belongs to you, and it is taken by God, it is taken by Christ in such an intimate way that He makes us part of His own life. And that's why we represent Christ, because we are consecrated to Him, to follow Him, to be with Him, to console Him, to make Him use our lips to proclaim the Word, our hands to heal the sick. Everything in us is used for eternity. So we can ask Our Lady to help you, help all of us, to really be more and more like Christ, to obtain for us all the graces that we need to be really consecrated to God, to really discover in us that election from God, something that was completely gratuitous. We didn't deserve it, but that actually changed our life completely. I made us very different than what we are. Made us a sign of the eternal truth. We definitely need also to thank your parents, your family, for this gift of your life for the church. We take it for granted, but really what God did was plant a little seed at the beginning of your life. And then there was a family, there were parents, that actually nurtured that presence of Christ in your life. And they made it grow, and they prepared the land, and they watered you, so that you could produce those fruits for eternity. Which is something, if you think well, it's something very beautiful. So there's no way we can really thank them. I mean, I believe that all parents of consecrated religious and priests have a special place in heaven, because they've given so much. They've given part of their life, really, to God, to Christ. And they provided the environment for that call to produce the fruits that God wanted it to be produced. So definitely we need to thank your parents, not only one-fold, but two-fold, because we also have Kathy there that, she's also consecrated. So we definitely need to understand that this is something extremely beautiful. Now, I don't know who was first, but I can imagine the day you told your parents that you wanted to join the Legion. Of course, I suppose that Kathy began crying, and Mom and Dad got a little emotional about it, and you tried to be like very strong, but then you also cried, and everybody cried. But I suppose that water also produced the needed water for that seed to grow and develop. Now, following Christ will probably produce or require from your side some tears. It will be a test, because that's the way the following of Christ is always. He tests you because He loves you, not because He wants you to fail, but rather because He wants you to be stronger, to be stronger. So, in case you find some difficulties in your life, just think about this: the election of God, providing all the mercy and all His providence and power for you to really become what you are called to be. Not a priest, not a religious, but a holy priest and a holy religious. Only the holy priest and holy religious will really provide what the church needs today for the salvation of many souls. So let's ask Our Lady for this grace for you, your family, and all of us, that we need so many vocations for the church today.